In this video, I'm going to be talking about the NRFI. It's a very popular sports bet that a lot of sports bettors will put on Major League Baseball games. Get ready to learn some shit. Okay, so if you're completely new to what the NRFI is, it stands for no runs in the first inning. And basically what this means is there's going to be no runs scored by either team in the first inning of the Major League Baseball game. Now, it's a real quick wager that a lot of sports bettors will put in because it can be over in a matter of 15 minutes or 6 outs, but I wouldn't be too quick to go ahead and place your NRFI bets. Okay, so let me break it down for you. I hate the New England Patriots and the New York Yankees. It would make more sense for me to put up an online dating profile in my Peyton Manning jersey stating that I hate the Patriots and the Yankees, and then asking those girls to contact me, which they probably would. And here's some interesting information on the first and last innings of the game. That's when the teams score the most amount of runs. Now, I've heard a lot of things about runs being scored in 49 to 53% of Major League Baseball games in the first inning. Don't get me wrong, I can clearly see why people would want to go for a NRFI. I mean, if you got two dominant pitchers pitching, I mean, it's going to look really appealing. Two dominant pitchers and they only got to get 6 outs. That could surely happen, right? But if you break it down and you go by the numbers and you see that 49% to 53% of teams score in the first inning, and if you add in the hot weather, for instance, when the ball will travel faster, or if the wind's blowing out, that will lead to higher scoring games, which would increase your chances of a run being scored in the first inning. Your numbers go up more and more. Really, I just see the NRFI as an amateur way to bet and not a realistic strategy. Now, I've seen a lot of things where people will put in a NRFI and they'll do it for 3 times, and if they miss it the first time, they'll go for it the second time, double their money, and then the third time they'll actually triple their money. Still though, however you look at it, it's not a strategy that I ever really bet with, and really I just see it as an amateur way of betting on sports. I mean, somebody that you clearly doesn't know what they're doing might place a NRFI. And another thing I really don't like about NRFIs is the odds are typically pretty high, meaning the odds are usually something like -170, -180, -190, even -200. Now, if you take a -180 and you look at the probability of you winning a -180, it's 64.29%. So earlier I showed that the probability of a team scoring in the first inning is 49 to 53%. So you can clearly see there's a big discrepancy there. What I mean is you're placing a bet that has a 64% chance of happening, but you're taking it at a 49 to 53% chance of that happening. There's actually no value in that bet. Whoa, that was a lot of numbers. I gotta go drink some bong water so I can balance my brain out. Okay, so NRFIs aren't a good idea, so how should you bet on Major League Baseball? You can take money lines, which basically you're taking a team to win straight up, but the only problem with those are if you take like favorites, the odds are very high, and you're not going to be able to grow your bankroll very quickly. In fact, I don't ever bet on a team if they have a -150 or higher, just because the payout is not very good. Now, a smarter approach would be to bet on underdogs. Now, I'm not saying bet on the Oakland Athletics, who are 25 and 67. I mean, you'd have a better chance of Pete Rose getting inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But you could take pretty decent teams that might have a good pitcher pitching, that are 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they're at home. You might have a better chance of winning an underdog bet that way. Optionally, you could take teams to win by 1.5 runs or lose by 1.5 runs, which means basically they have to win by 2 runs to win the bet. Or if you take the underdog, they could come within 1 run. You could go with overs and unders for the baseball games, meaning if the Cleveland Guardians were playing the New York Yankees and the over and under was 9.5, this simply means that their combined total, like the score was 4-3, that would be 7 runs. So if the over and under was 9.5 and you took the under and they got 7 runs, you would win that bet. Now, if you took 9.5 and the over, they would have to score 10 runs because obviously you can't score half a run in baseball. And if you want to play on good starting pitching, you could take the first 5 innings. So you could say, if there's 2 pitchers that suck ass out there, you could take over for a certain amount of runs being scored within the first 5 innings of the game. Or if there's 2 really good pitchers pitching, you might take the under since those pitchers are prone to do really good since they're decent pitchers. We want a pitcher, not a belly itcher. Okay, taking player props in Major League Baseball is really popular. It's actually one of my favorite ways to bet on Major League Baseball. For instance, you could be betting on a player to get 1 hit in the game. If he gets over 1 hit, then you win your bet. You could bet on a pitcher to get over 6 strikeouts per game. You could bet on a player to hit a home run, which usually plays at least 4-1 if you win that bet. In fact, there's a number of sports bettors that's all they do is bet on different players hitting home runs. You could bet on a player peeing his pants during the game. Okay, I might have made that one up, although I think Bryce Harper's done it twice. You could bet on a pitcher recording a win, which this is actually a lot smarter than betting on a dominant team to beat a crappy team because the lines are a lot better. Typically they're like 200, negative 250 for the win, and then if you just took Garrett Cole, say, for the Yankees, you might get a negative 110 odds. You could bet on a certain player to get a certain amount of 1.5 bases. Means he gets a double, he wins that. He gets 2 hits, you win that bet. Okay, so I don't recommend using NRFIs in your Major League Baseball betting strategies. Not to mention, you're banking on the fact that their number 1, 2, and 3 hitters aren't going to score. Well, there's a good chance that their leadoff hitter's pretty fast, so if he gets on and then somebody gets a hit behind him, there's a run right there. But I'm not going to be peering in your window like a peeping Tom. You can do whatever you want when you're placing your bets, but just remember, the odds are not on your side if you do decide to place a NRFI. And go ahead and like this video if you liked it, or leave a comment. Let me know what you think about NRFIs. Let me know if you've ever seen a Major League Baseball pee their pants. As always, there are links in the description, so make sure you check that out. And I'm out. I got a hot date with the Yankees fan.